Always manipulate. Always manipulate. Yeah. Good. We appreciate talking to you. Tanks rolled down this Warsaw street 8 years ago. We were here when martial law was imposed. We've come back to report on the historic changes in Poland. See our reports on News 11. See the history-making changes in Poland on News 11. When we were here 8 years ago, tanks and troops were rolling down this Warsaw street. The communists had imposed martial law. Now the unthinkable, many of those arrested in the crackdown are running the government. See our reports on the historic changes in Poland on News 11. See the historic changes in Poland on News 11. When we were here 8 years ago, tanks and troops were rolling over this Warsaw Bridge. The communists had imposed martial law. Now the unthinkable, many of those arrested in the crackdown are running the government. See the historic changes in our series of reports from Poland on News 11. The Lenin Shipyard in Gdansk. Solidarity was born here in 1980. A place that had seen its share of turmoil long before Solidarity. This monument, built by shipyard workers in their spare time, marks the spot where some striking workers in 1970 were shot and killed by the authorities. Workers pass it daily. It means a lot to them.
It testifies that the Polish nation wants to live in a just, in an honest country.
This woman lives in an apartment overlooking the spot of the 1970 massacre. She said armed troops atop buildings opened fire.
Then the shots, then you could see the shots.
What happened then?
I co się stało? The people were killed.
Now a cross bearing the names of the dead sits next to an eternal flame. For 10 years after the 1970 strike, tensions simmered in the shipyard, leading to a new round of strikes in 1980 and the formation of Solidarity. That's when Lech Wałęsa, shipyard electrician, burst onto the scene. Solidarity swept the country. Authorities would have no more. Again, fourth. We were here in 1981 when the armed vehicles and troops fanned out across the country imposing martial law. Solidarity was banned, but it didn't go away. It went underground. Authorities tried but failed to muzzle the labor union. The labor union with the backing of a powerful Catholic Church. At a Warsaw church, this memorial to a priest who actively supported Solidarity. Father George Papiuszko was kidnapped and murdered by the secret police. Unable to put Solidarity down any longer, communist authorities this year allowed the labor union to field candidates for many seats in parliament. Trade unions swept the election. And today, Poland has the first non-communist prime minister in the Eastern European bloc. Tadeusz Mazowiecki was one of the intellectuals to support Solidarity early on. When I met with Solidarity leader Lech Wałęsa, he didn't spend time reflecting on the past, what lies ahead for Solidarity. The job to be done is enormous. Solidarity is looking for help from the West.
I think you love Poland, so you must have a bit of heart for Poland. With the tombs of your parents here, that's why I'm going to the West, to tell them to give me some money. I want to give the money to the people. Give me some cooperation with your enterprises, because I want to start immediately. I want to find many more private bakers, establish more hotels. It will make sense, or we will end up shooting each other.
We've seen a gas line a mile long, pushing and shoving in the food lines. Is this going to get worse? Are the communists sabotaging progress?
I don't think they will be able to hamper us. All they can do is help us, because there are many professionals in the Communist Party. I believe that their patriotism will be helpful to carry on the needed reforms.
While Wałęsa doesn't think the communists will block reforms, there are many skeptics, including shipyard workers.
Well, he can't believe that the communists can give up. They must go away.
Does he think they'll give up?
Myśli pan, że się zrezygnują?
Wątpię w to.
I would doubt it very much.
Dlatego, że
But the gains made by Solidarity are remarkable. Solidarity flags can fly proudly. Billboards are openly displayed at the entrance to the Lenin shipyard. And the Solidarity newspaper sold at a souvenir shop also at the entrance to the shipyard.
co ja myślę, abyśmy nie przepaścili to, co zdobyli.
I think we shouldn't lose what we have already gained,
Bo to jest najważniejsze,
because
żeby się nie powtórzył
that
rok
is very
1940.
important. What is important is to avoid the year 1981.
Since its birth here 9 years ago, Solidarity has ridden a roller coaster. When it was riding high in 1981, communist authorities thought their martial law crackdown would stamp out the labor movement. What it did was strengthen it. Now, as Solidarity rides high once again running the government, the big question is, can a labor union, which has taken its members out on strike many times, put the country back to work? In Gdansk, Poland, Bernie Grace, News 11. Westerners are coming to Poland in greater numbers. On this train from Warsaw, arriving in the southern Polish city of Tarnów, is a Minneapolis couple. Dr. Jack Sitch and his wife Kathy have come to vacation with their Polish relatives. Train ride and almost everything else they'll experience during their stay will be nostalgic. But for those who live here, nostalgia is not the word. Difficult, struggle, hard times are better ways to describe life here.
W Polsce są bardzo zmęczeni, a w Stanach
People in
właśnie...
Poland are very tired, standing in long lines.
When we first came here, it was quite romantic because these are my roots. This is where my father grew up. But it's very discouraging to see what's happened in Poland. I think nothing has happened. I think that is the big thing. Since the war, I don't think they've made much progress.
Despite the shortages here, the hospitality is overwhelming. Poles find a way to feed relatives and their guests, even if it meant weeks, possibly months of sacrifices on their part.
Że będzie lepiej.
They say it will be better, but we are waiting patiently.
My już dawno zrobili podanie o
We applied, long ago for a tractor, but it's still not available. They told us
Już nie ma.
that there were no tractors. They stopped production.
Without a tractor, Vladislav Sitch heads to the field with very primitive farm implements. It makes his job much more difficult. Yet the Sitches have it better than many Polish families because they have land and are able to grow much of their food.
Tak.
Yes, I am. I am
To
self-sustaining.
tylko takie
All I had
to się
to get from the
kupuje.
shops, it's, sugar, coffee, tea. From time to time we can have pork.
Tu już będę robić.
We kill
w
a
tym
pig,
kawałku. Wiśnia.
And we've got meat.
Ja dalej, wiśnia.
And the Sitches have other animals that provide food and milk for the table. And daughter Sophie's income as a seamstress provides much needed outside income. While Vladislav is far from Warsaw, he hopes the changing government and Solidarity will lead to better times. He blames the communists for the troubles of private farmers, saying he and others have long been ignored in favor of industry and state-run farms. Ironically, while state farms get the best of the equipment, it's the private farmers like Sitch that produce 3/4 of all the food grown in Poland. So while rural Polish families like the Sitches generally have it better than their counterparts in the cities, an economy in shambles and shortages takes its toll. To help Poles cope, many are lucky and receive care packages from their Western relatives. The Sitches here are grateful that the Sitches in Minneapolis are so generous long after their visit. In Reykjavik, Poland, Bernie Grace, News 11. Poland is a staggering $38 billion in debt. It would cost every Pole, man, woman, and child, $1,000 to pay off the debt. Most Poles are lucky if they make that much in 2 years' time. The average salary here is about $30 a month. The money Poles are paid is next to worthless. Poland's money has plummeted in value since the martial law crackdown when we were here 8 years ago. Back then, you go into this bank, cash in a dollar bill, you'd get 34 zlotys back. Now you get more than 1,000 zlotys for a dollar bill. And another indication of the little value Polish currency has, this is a groszy. It takes 300 of these to equal just 1 American penny.
How many dollars you want change? I give you $8,001. $1 I pay you 8,000.
8,000 what? Zloty?
Yeah.
But so-called black market money changes will give you close to 10 times what the banks will. Polish money often devalues several times a day. What all of this means is that 2/3 of all the Western currency Poland gets services the country's debt. That leaves little money to buy the goods that must be imported. Food, spare parts, and the list goes on and on. Thus, shortages everywhere. Hopes of turning things around, Parliament leaders will meet later this week in Warsaw with former Vice President Mondale, former Senator Howard Baker, and others from the United States to hear suggestions on budgeting and ways to turn the economic crisis around. In our interview with Solidarity leader Lech Wałęsa, he talked about what he hopes will come out of the meetings.
We would like to talk about general matters. We'll try to talk about cooperation, especially in light industry. It could be profitable for your people. So what we need is cooperation, and without foreign aid, it is impossible for any country.
Tourism has been one way Poles are trying to generate Western money. More tourists are coming to Poland, and they're spending money that has value, money Poles need badly. And for Americans and other Westerners, Poland's a bargain.
Oh, you get such good value for your money. When I came, I was getting, 10,000 zloty to $1, and that's 10 times as much as I got when I was here first in 1958. That means, for instance, I could buy a lovely winter coat for $7.
While the government tries new ways to curb the country's economic slide, so do Poles themselves. There are more of these flea markets, Poles selling whatever they can to make a little money.
Well, I have a garden. I'm a retired person, and I grow flowers. So I can get some money, some extra money from that business.
Niech pan powie, że w Polsce uczciwy człowiek
Tell them that if you are an honest man in this country, you can't get enough money.
Instead of well-manicured lawns, many Poles plant flowers, often to sell them. And those who own fruit trees set up roadside stands, hoping to make extra money.
No tak jak tu na przykład, tego można, bo mamy wolny teraz handel.
It's a kind of free market now, so we are allowed to sell. Nowadays we are allowed to do that.
But no one expects Poland to turn around on its own. The United States has pledged $115 million, and other Western countries are pledging assistance. While millions of dollars may sound generous, experts say what's needed here are billions to stabilize Poland. Many Poles believe the economy has hit rock bottom. At least they're hoping it's bottomed out. And while Poles enjoy newfound freedoms, what Poles want right now is bread, and at a price they can afford. In Warsaw, Poland, Bernie Grace, News 11. Much of what's being broadcast over radio and TV in Poland today was unmentionable not long ago. Until Gorbachev, communism prohibited people from speaking out against what they believed was wrong. And definitely no one could say anything bad about a government official. But with martial law behind them, Poles are enjoying and taking advantage of glasnost. Even London shipyard workers, who are in the forefront of the battle for free speech and free press, are surprised with their progress.
No one could even foresee. 90 years ago, you know what was here. No freedom of speech. But nowadays, we can speak whatever we want.
Irene Kukuczki is from the Polish city of Bydgoszcz. She married a St. Paul man, and the couple lives in Poland and also in the Twin Cities. They too are delighted things have opened up in Poland. When John turns on the TV set in his Polish home, things are different.
Before I used to talk to the TV set. I used to tell the TV set, you're lying, you're lying. And now I don't have to say that, because now you get more news that is actual truth.
We are afraid to talk. When you talk too much, then you can go to jail or something. That was not good.
That's changed now?
But now, change. We can talk what we want.
8 years ago, if I wanted to talk politics to somebody here in Poland, I'd be afraid to talk politics, because I don't know who they are. Now I can go and talk politics to whoever I want to. It's a tremendous change.
Solidarity, banned during martial law, is now the focus of much TV coverage.
And he said that they want to build the new party, even with the members of Solidarity within their ranks.
Solidarity has billboards across the country. Newspapers, some openly critical of communism, can be bought on street corners. And compared to 8 years ago, there seems to be less political graffiti. Possibly Poles feeling free to speak out, has replaced their need to express themselves by writing on walls. So much has changed in Poland. Merely seeing reading a paper like this in public in the past would have got you arrested. Say nothing about the people caught printing this. But Poles who have won freedoms in the past, only to have them snatched away, are skeptical. They wonder if things really will be different this time, if the changes will last. In Gdansk, Poland, Bernie Grace, News 11. Poles line up and wait, Often as supplies dwindle, tempers flare. In this line, people jammed in front of the store grabbing for a small bag of sugar, a bottle of vodka and cigarettes. Even Poles who don't drink or smoke buy the booze and cigarettes so they can exchange them with neighbors for something else. Often having such goods will get you more than what the nearly worthless money will.
I've been waiting for sugar, and it's been 5 hours. Look, gentlemen, there is poverty here. We've been waiting, and there is nothing available. We'll have to stay for long hours, even for sugar.
Who do Poles blame for the economic mess?
He says, well, communism should be out of here. We don't know. How can we know? How should we know about it? The government, perhaps, he said, you know.
Many times, after waiting in line for hours, the supplies will run out before you reach the front of the line. The store shelves emptied. And it's not only food. There are gas lines. This one stretched for a mile. Cars and trucks parked on the side of the road. How long have you been waiting for the gas?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
3 days have been waiting?
The whole 3 days. We sleep and when we are awake, you know, here.
And when we came back on the 4th day, the line hadn't moved. The gas station was closed until new supplies arrived. And housing is in short supply. Millions of Poles live in high-rises like these. They're called flats. The wait to get one is incredible. This woman with relatives in Minneapolis must live with her parents because there's no apartment available.
I've been waiting for 12 years already. But perhaps there will be 5 or 8 years more.
So it's common for children to live with their parents until their late 30s or 40s. And to wait for a car is several years. Because it must be fully paid for first, many Poles never can afford a car. Long walks are the order of the day for many Poles, or horse-drawn carts. And this man, who has a daughter in Minneapolis, is the family member who waits in the meat lines that formed the night before.
At 8 o'clock p.m.
And when would you get the meat?
A kiedy mięso się dostaje? The very next day, 9:30 in the morning.
So you wait in line almost 12 hours?
Czyli 12 godzin musi pan czekać. Yes, 12 hours.
To beat the lines, there are PVIC stores. Poles who can get their hands on valuable Western currency can shop these stores. Only dollars, marks, pounds, Western money is accepted here. It's the government's way of getting a hold of money that has value. So life in Poland seems to be a never-ending line. You wait for almost everything. But many Poles hope that the new solidarity reforms will soon make things better. But the reality is, turning around 45 years of mismanagement and corruption by the communists will be no easy task. In Paradise, Poland, Bernie Grace, News 11. Armored vehicles, troops. That's what could be seen 8 years ago in Poland. The communists imposed martial law. Now the biggest show of force we spotted in our travels around Poland was the army observing the 50th anniversary of the German invasion of Poland, starting World War II. Many of the people the Polish army arrested and jailed in 1981 during martial law are now serving in Parliament. Solidarity swept the recent elections. Now Poles are openly speaking out like they did before World War II.
Because you can't earn so much money if you work here, so you must try to get abroad, you know, or just to be not too much honest here, you know. Because solidarity is now in the government, and Mr. Mazowiecki, the Prime Minister, he's completing his cabinet. It's so-called the government of our hope, and we must trust him.
But in the streets, there was no partying when Solidarity scored big victories and the contest was allowed to field candidates. That's because many Poles are skeptical, wondering if there may be a trap, another crackdown. Some believe the communists will sabotage democratic reform, even though the communists say they won't. The job ahead for the new government is enormous. An economy in shambles must be dealt with quickly. There are many other serious problems. Rivers may look nice from a distance, but a closer look shows the serious pollution problems in Poland. And that's not only water, also air. This chemical plant is one of many industries that has been the target of complaints for years. Area residents say emissions kill trees and make area residents sick.
Because it's very close to here. They produce nitrogen here, and it's children are most affected. Yes, there is a lot of people who suffer from vomitation, and there are strokes, into the brain.
So many changes are needed for life in Poland to improve. Changes in many cases that promise to be slow in coming. Some Poles seem prepared to wait, others are not.
If you want to overcome the crisis, it needs a lot of patience and a lot of job, to be done.
Już mamy dosyć tego.
We've already fed up with
Żebym
that.
był młodszy, to bym uciekł.
If I were younger, I would run away from here.
Most Poles long for the days Poland was an independent country before World War II. While they have recently won freedoms, they are far from free. They have yet to have totally open and free elections. The communists control much of the government, and the country remains dominated by the Soviet Union. And until this country's disastrous economy improves, most Poles will have little free time to enjoy the gains of the ballot box. In Torun, Poland, Bernie Grace, News 11.